before we start, I just need to let you guys know how cute this guy is. Look at him. Look at him. Hey guys, it's Helen, and there are a few things that I would stay up until 3 a.m. for. This is one of them. Dragon's Race to the Edge is the third season of the DreamWorks Dragons TV series, which in turn is based on the books by Christopher Cowell as well as the movies How to Train Your Dragon 1 and 2. For those of you who've been fans of mine for a while, you'll know that those two movies are my favorite movies of all time, and I have just watched the first 2 seasons of the TV series that ran on Cartoon Network in preparation for this new series that came out on June 26th. Yes, this is coming from a 20-year-old adult who stayed up until 3 a.m. to watch a kid's cartoon. I was really excited for this season ever since they announced it back in April at WonderCon, and I'm super excited that it has now moved on to Netflix. Needless to say, I was not disappointed with these first 13 episodes. So first, let's talk about the story. Now, Dragon's Race to the Edge actually picks up about a year and a half or so before the events of How to Train Your Dragon 2. So Hiccup, Astrid, and the rest of the gang are like about 18, 19. The creators of the show have described this particular season as sort of the college years, and that the 6 main teenagers have decided to go exploring for even more dragons, and they've set up their own outpost called the Dragon's Edge, which is where the title comes from. Now, because this takes place before the events of How to Train Your Dragon 2, there are some characters that are still in the series that are, spoiler, not in the movie. That also means that there are some characters that are introduced in the second movie that aren't in the Dragon series. Now, the thing that I was a little bit nervous about going through a Dragons TV series in general, and what I felt was missing a bit from the first 2 seasons of the show, was a little bit more epic and darker feel. Now that the series has moved over onto Netflix, they can go for a more epic and darker and more self-contained tone, and that's what I really loved about Race to the Edge. This series, in a sense, hints at what the second movie is trying to say, which is that there are much larger conflicts outside of the Burkian Empire. One thing that this series does that the first 2 seasons didn't really do is there's a lot of fan service, especially now that the second movie has come out. There are some things that happen in the second movie that we can see develop over the TV series. For example, in the second movie, you see Hiccup in his flight suit at the beginning of the movie. There is an episode in Race to the Edge that kind of deals with the origins of the flight suit. There are a lot of little throwbacks to the first movie as well, especially with the twins. Now, there has been sort of an issue with the TV series as a whole, and that it doesn't quite fit canonically into the universe of the movies. And that's mostly due to 2 things, one of which I will explain a little bit later on when I talk about the characters. Episodes 10 and 11 felt like they really should have been the finale, and they should have been switched with the actual last 2 episodes of the series. But we have to keep in mind this is actually the first half of a 3rd season, so some things that were teased at the beginning probably will get explained until we get the next batch of 13 episodes in around December or so. As to the writing and the dialogue, it's an A+. There's a lot of humor in the show, and it's not like dumb kiddie humor. There's a lot of humor that adults will understand as well. But overall, this is actually much more of a darker series. It's more of a drama that happens to have some humor and comic relief in it. Now, here's where a lot of people are going to get lost on the TV series, and that is the animation. Is the animation as good as the movies? Not remotely, but the animation is still absolutely breathtaking nonetheless. The flying scenes are absolutely amazing. The animation is still miles better than the previous 2 seasons. They've definitely stepped it up. The hair does flow a lot more naturally, as you can see with Hiccup in his shagged hair and Tough Nut in his dreads. It looks really nice. There's a lot more water interaction. There are several scenes where they go underwater, they go into water, there's water splashing around, which I thought was amazing for a CG animated series with a limited budget. In the second movie, we see that the characters have aged about 5 years, and they do kind of do a good job of getting an in-between look at them. You see the outfits are in between, you see that they look different, but some of the guys haven't exactly sported facial hair yet. And I have to say, all of the new dragons that they've introduced look really cool. They have the Snow Wraith and the Death Song and the Catastrophic Quakin. So many others, but they all look great. They all fit into the universe really well, and I thought they had a good episode structure around them. So I hope we get to see more of them in the second half of this season and then in the 4th season. And now I'm really excited because we get to talk about my favorite part of this series, and that is the characters. These are characters that we've loved in the first movie, in the first 2 seasons of the TV series, and who we've seen grow in the second movie. And so it's interesting to see them sort of at an in-between state. At the beginning of the series, you see that Hiccup is still wanting to be sort of a free bird. You see that the other Burkians have kind of settled down into their roles. until they discover that there's a new threat out there. This, I think, for the first time is where we really see Hiccup come in to be sort of a leader, especially now that the teenagers or young adults are now on their own outpost and they have to have some sort of structure. They still look up to him, but he is becoming a little bit more accepted as part of the group. My favorite character is, of course, Aster, and she is still very much strong-willed. She's awesome, she's really tough, but we also get to see sort of a softer side with her as well, which is, I thought, really nice. One thing that I know that Tumblr has been a buzz about, especially with this season, is there's not very many Hickstrid moments. There are some really nice little touching moments, and they do seem very, very close, but I kind of want to see them probably, if not at the end of this season, in the next season, actually get together. And we are going to see them together in the second movie, so we need to see how that relationship progresses, but I do like seeing the beginnings of it. One thing that I do love about the TV series is that most of these characters that have been kind of left off to the side in the movies can be explored more deeply now in the TV series. I like seeing how the characters interact with each other and how they've changed a lot as becoming young adults, but they've also kept pretty much their same personality traits that make them so lovable. Each character sort of has their own kind of episodes surrounding them, and it's really nice to see them fleshed out. The adults are not quite as prominent in this season, but there are some still really touching moments, especially between Hiccup and his father, which is really important. If you've seen the second movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. This being a TV series, keep in mind that there are characters that are introduced in the first 2 seasons that do come back and that aren't in the movies. The main villain of this season is actually Dagger the Deranged, who was sort of the main villain in season 2. He's been in prison for 3 years, he's been getting buffed up, and he has a revenge plot out against Hiccup. And I think he makes such a great villain. He's really funny because he is a little bit deranged, but he is also very much a threat. I think he strikes that good balance. The other character that comes back in episodes 10 and 11 is Heather. Heather appeared for 2 episodes in the first season. I liked her character then, and I like how they aged her now. She has a really interesting character arc in that she has become much more of a loner, and there are some family secrets that do get revealed about her in these episodes. I wish that the girls had a little bit more screen time, but I hope that happens a bit in the last half of the season. I can't forget the dragons, of course. They're characters too, and they do have great personalities on their own and with their writers, especially Hiccup and Toothless. I think this entire franchise, the TV series, the specials, the movies, all rides on the relationship between these two, and you really feel how close these characters are, and I love that. The one gripe character-wise is that I wish we could have seen an episode that centers really on Astrid. We've had a couple episodes that center on her and Hiccup, but I kind of want to see her on her own. Overall, I have to say that my anticipation for this new season has absolutely paid off. There's a couple little hiccups, no pun intended, story-wise, and I wish there would have been a little bit more character development, but overall it's still a very enjoyable series. Is the TV series as good as the movies? No, absolutely not. The movies are near perfection and it's almost impossible to top that. It is best to view this TV series as its own separate entity, and functioning on its own, it actually does a really good job of telling a really epic story and offering a lot more character development. In my opinion, it is truly a series that both kids and adults can enjoy. Make sure to check out Dragon's Race to the Edge on Netflix, and make sure to subscribe to me for more videos kind of like this, sort of. You can also subscribe to my second channel where I do more vlog type things. You can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, and Spotify to see what I'm getting up to when I'm not filming. And yeah, that's about it. Anyways, remember to keep living awesome lives. I love you all, and I'll see you very soon. Bye!